Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype, let's tweak, let's test, let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
Since you were here, weeks. Let's see, who else is around? Obie Flat, the gorgeous and talented Amy Vegas O, Magnus Zerum, nice to have you here. And TMI, always a pleasure. John Swan, always good to see you. Pharmacy, how you doing, buddy? Nice to see you. And let's see here. I don't know. Peppa H. And Tyler Howell Outdoors. Welcome to SOR Chat. Samantha, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much, Samantha, for kicking it off. We're about 30 seconds away from launching here. Our Keith Andrews, the ET Connection. Get your questions ready. Hannah Luft, welcome to SOR Chat, even though I think you've been here before. And I'm feeling good now. That little nap, I'm feeling good. Feeling fine. Get all your SOR swag on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And Tewaz, nice to see you. I need a favor, my friends. Horns up. Let's do it. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a wonderful show for you tonight. The ET Connection, as the conductor of the Woo Train, our Keith Andrews, will be here momentarily. And then in hour number 3, we head to the swamp, another great edition of Spooky Stories with Swamp Dweller. The fedora-wearing John Hudson will be around to give us the latest UFO report, and we got Shirky Poo's news, see what else we can fit in as well. Our Keith Andrews comes in once a month near the beginning of each month for the ET Connection. This is a show we've been doing almost 7 years on this program, and we love it when Keith is here. It's very audience-oriented, very audience-interactive, so if you're in our chat room, make sure you put your questions in capital letters so we can get them to Keith. It's everything about extraterrestrials. It's not about the big news. It's not about people like Elizondo or Richard Dolan or anybody of that ilk. This is about you, your own contact, and what are you doing about it? And this is why we have the man from Inner Voice Enterprises, Mr. R. Keith Andrews, with us once again. He's sporting a brand new beard. He's got a haircut, looking more like Doc from Back to the Future each and every time we see him. R. Keith, always a pleasure, my friend. Much love to you.
I appreciate you having me here. You know, the gray hair, well, that just goes hand in hand with getting a whole lot older than I was. Well, at least starting to show it.
I'm actually going to give you heck here publicly. Publicly, I'm going to scold you here because, audience, you wouldn't believe this. right before the show, Keith is like, well, I don't know how much longer you're going to want to keep me on this program. And I said, you're stuck with us. And he goes, well, that's kind of my say of whether or not that happens. And I'm like, no, it isn't. It is our say, because we love you. I love you. The audience loves you. And you know what? You bring a lot of fun and a lot of ratings to this show, so we're going to keep you. Like, it was almost like he was looking for a way out. And I was like, hell no, that's happening.
No, the reality is, Dave, if I were looking for a way out, I'd just disappear.
Well, we'll blame the aliens when that happens. But no, you're locked into us for as long as we're going as a show. You're going to be here, my friend. That's how much we love you and think about you. Yeah,
I'm not exactly planning on quitting. I'm actually doing a second printing of the Race of the Worlds, the one that went out a while ago, because I'm getting the pictures done for it now.
Beautiful.
And I'm about 2/3 of the way through on the pictures.
That is always wonderful, my friend. Always wonderful. Now, for you, because we have new listeners each and every time you are here, I would like you to kind of explain your little bit of history. You know, starting off, you're an experiencer since childhood. You have been taken literally hundreds, if not thousands of times by extraterrestrials, and it's usually on, once to twice a week, if not more. I mean, this is a life that would be difficult for a lot of people, Keith.
Oh, this one, it's one that I would not wish on anybody, realistically. Let's see, I'm just doing a quick calculation here just because I'm curious. What are we, 58 years old, 50, so we can do that times 2. Yeah, it would be, roughly speaking, about 6,000 abductions.
My goodness.
Now, that is not a life I recommend for anybody, by the way. But no, I mean, for me, it started literally the day I was born. I was taken out of in all fairness, I left the incubator. But the day I was born, I was in the incubator, and I did not approve of the way I came in, so I took off. That day, I ran into the Council at 12, hence my first interaction with off-world races. I got promptly told I wasn't allowed to leave because I had a job to do. From there, I went back and spent the first couple of years being just a little munchkin that didn't do a whole lot. And then the Talons got involved, and they were the first ones that took me, only they took me, that was an actual abduction. And the damage they did to my body was just phenomenal. And they did it just simply to figure out what the stresses were, or, what stress capacity people had. Then I got involved with the MyLabs, the military laboratories. And that was in that, and I cannot prove, that's the problem here, is I cannot prove any of this because I won't give people's names of who I've dealt with. But I will tell you that my father on his deathbed did confirm all of it. He literally apologized to me for leaving me think I was nuts and told me every single thing I'd been through, including him dropping me off at the MyLabs, was all absolutely accurate. So when I got in with the MyLabs, I watched 197 of my friends get murdered, myself included, which wasn't really an observational thing. And then at that point was when the Srozosians got a hold of me and put me back together. From there, it just became a standard. It became more of a contact standpoint instead of an abduction. Right. And then over the years, because of the fact that I just don't see any people differently than others, some people take offense to it, but their race, their species, their income doesn't matter. Everybody to me is the same way. So I ended up working on top of being a consultant on Earth, I've been dealing with consulting for the off-worlders, helping them find common ground, on their issues. And it's just been it's been an absolute bizarre setup. Some people are going to ask, some people have asked, have I ever been to different worlds? And the answer is yes. Right. Again, can I prove it? No. I actually made a comment the other day on one of the Facebook pages. They were talking about this issue of proof, and I said, look, I said, for people that believe, proof is not necessary. For those of you that do not believe, the odds of finding proof is not good. As in, proof may not be possible if you don't already believe. But take a look at the preponderance of evidence, or lack thereof. Is the way that I've always looked at it. And of course, the fact that I've had people witness my return, after having been abducted, does kind of make it a little easier for me to cope with. The corroboration is really handy for me, not looking at it going, no, this is too whacked out even for me.
Well, you know what? We like it when you're whacked out, my friend. We like it when you're whacked out. And we're going to start with some audience questions right off the bat. Oscar is kicking things off tonight. Keith, when you are on a UFO craft and leave Earth, do they turn left or right?
That's a cute question. I like it. That depends on which ship I'm on. And in all fairness, half the time I don't know whether they're going left or right. Of course, to be honest with you, if I'm traveling in a car, I don't know half the time if I'm not driving which direction I'm going.
Yeah, that's why you make me drive.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's go to our man Millennium in the chat room. Our Keith, could you share an interesting story of a time you acted as a mediator between different species of ETs?
I think one of the most fascinating ones that I ran into was trying to settle an onboard dispute between now let me just think what race it was. The Thrazazians were there, but there were a couple of Tormenon that were absolutely being belligerent and being Tormenon. I mean, they really are mercenaries. They'll do whatever they can for whatever they're paid. But they could not understand why. Now, understand, in a conference, there is no conflict permitted, or at least there's not supposed to be. So this guy walks up to me, and I don't blame him for looking down. He was over the 8-foot mark. And he looks down on me and goes, why should I pay attention? And why should I pay any attention to what a simple Solarian says in matters of conflict? Now, bear in mind, on Earth, I'm very much a pacifist. But he made that comment, and his two buddies who were with him looked at me and went, don't worry, we'll explain it to him in the morning when he wakes up in the infirmary. Much as they're armored, they do have weak points. Sometimes their conferences, their negotiations get a little complicated.
You punch the guy out for talking
only
down
once.
to you? You punched him
No,
out.
I only hear him once.
I thought you were a pacifist.
I am. But there are two versions of a pacifist. You are a pacifist or you're a pacifist.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. I see your game
Honestly, I do not like my temper. I know what it's capable of.
So you punched an innocent alien out for talking down to you, a big 8-footer.
Innocent?
Then you kicked him in the balls and gave him a suplex with a camel clutch, following it up until he tapped out. You dirty, rotten scoundrel.
Yeah, that's a wonderful embellishment, but no.
Sure.
Mind you want to see something funny when things do get complicated. Watch what happens when a Drake fires a Corlock up against the wall. They really do lose form and just kind of drip down the wall. Corlocks they're basically a 160-pound amoeba.
Oh, wow. All right, let's move on here, brother. We got more questions coming from the audience tonight. Patty would like to know, why did your dad take you to the My Labs?
Because I was a psychokinetic at a very early age. I remember the first time I went, I was sitting at the end of my dining room table. Now, my dining room table is 3.5 feet wide and 6 feet long. It's one sheet with arborite. Well, Dad had put pablum down beside me. I was only a year or so old, and he puts a bowl of pablum on my high chair. And I looked at it. I didn't throw it on the floor, but I looked at it kind of disgustedly and just pushed it aside. But there was a big bowl of mashed potatoes that Mom had put at the other end of the table. And I just stuck my hand out like this. And I focused for a minute. The thing came the full length of the table. Right. Well, Mom just about died of shock. I have 3 brothers that all reacted very oddly to it. And Dad's only comment was, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." Next morning, he took me down to see the military. And I spent the next 2.5 to 3 years there with them trying to force our higher senses to kick in. Right.
Right.
And in order to do that, I mean, anybody that's been through the military laboratories knows it's no fun there. I watched 197 of my friends get murdered right in front of my eyes, trying to get my tension up high enough to react. Well, it worked. Unfortunately, it also scared the daylights out of me. So before anybody goes there, no. At this point, I have not reopened that psychokinetic capacity.
Ryan is wondering, due to Earth being a water planet, is it being protected in the galaxy by off-world beings?
Not due to being a primarily water planet, but yes, it is being protected. It's because of the triple helix and the database that is contained in the genetic building of this whole planet.
Amber is wanting to know, why do they want to take us humans? Is there a higher reason?
If we're referring to abductions, it's very much a higher reason. They are abducting humans on the whole as part of a massive hybridization program. They are growing cultural interpreters. See, most people involved in this sort of thing, in this kind of interest, have a fascination with science fiction. And in science fiction, there is something called a universal translator. Well, even on the computer, take a look at your Google.Translate. You can type in words, and it'll give you different sentences in different languages. Problem is, it's got no context for the culture. So by combining 2 different genomes, by creating a hybrid, they grow something that instinctively understands the culture of both races. Now you can build a communication line. But ultimately, that is the primary reason they're being taken.
Keith, are there any races visiting Earth that are races at war with each other? This question comes from Nicola.
Absolutely there are. Your Strazazians and your Teklik are both at war with each other, and the Tormanon just like to stir the pot between that. Okay, those are the 2 biggest ones. The Moldocs are pretty much at war with anybody they can get a hold of. The Moldocs are more at war on Inner Earth, though, with the Elfid and the Dwarvish races, amongst other ones. There's a lot of ancient races on this planet. I divide the 2. Off-worlders are ones that evolved off-planet. Ancient races are ones that evolved on-planet.
All right, let's go to 5900. Keith, do you know of any single cute cat aliens asking for a friend?
I don't even play dating between humans.
Wait, I thought you had a girlfriend.
I do. And as soon as we can get her across the border, I'm going to end up with a fiance.
Oh, isn't that romantic? I'm not going any further. You have shown me a picture, and she is quite a looker. She is quite a looker.
Well, I appreciate that.
Back to 5900. Any cute aliens out there?
There are quite a number that fit that bill, and it really depends on personal taste. But I will agree with him that quite often, because of the musculature of them, the Laborians tend to have a good physique, and most of your Terianthropes, many of the Terianthropes, are in good shape. Now, of course, it depends on what you like. You know, some people are into heavier set people, some people are into slender. You know, that's just the way it is.
Bigfoot Rob wants to know, Keith, was the Hawaiian Islands ever inhabited by ETs from the Pleiades star system called the Akuta?
No. Oh, the reason I can say just categorically no is because Earth's atmosphere will kill a true Pleiadian. Pleiadians just can't live on Earth.
Why is
hybrid Pleiadians? It wouldn't be a surprise.
Why can't Pleiadians live here?
Because Earth's atmosphere will physically kill them. It's like a human cannot go to a Pleiadian, to even a Pleiadian starship without going into an isolated chamber, or going in with protective, like with proper rebreathers and what have you. The atmosphere is just impossible.
Well, let's go to Amber here. Keith, can you intuitively tell if another person has been taken? I am asking because I hope I haven't, but I did see them in my house in January. She got aliens, Keith.
The answer to the question is, more often than not, yes. But will I ever answer that question on the air? The answer is no. That being said, drop me PM me, and I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you.
Well, let's expand on this a little bit more here, because I think this is an important question. Because I agree with you. If you have been taken or have experiences with extraterrestrials, it is very easy to read that energy off of someone else who's had contact as well.
Yes. Once in all fairness, we should qualify that and say that's once you understand what you're looking for.
Dude, I have no idea what I'm looking for, and I can tell you I can tell. It should.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype. Let's tweak. Let's test. Let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com. Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create new possibilities, from intelligent automation to security that hunts for threats in the wild. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
You know what? It's just it's like a flashcard, like a light that goes on above their head that says, hey, I'm a contactee. I mean, that's literally what it's like.
Yeah, they're very definitively, they're very definitively they've got a different feel to them.
All right, Keith from Nicola, do we know what the war is about between those two races?
Well, I don't know if you do, but I do. The conflict is very simple. Sorry. The conflict is very simple. The Teklak, because they're having a problem, I believe it's with the Xenon, but let me just double check that where they put it. I believe it's the Xenon that they've got an inbound problem with. This is why I keep all this information written. I just don't have that solid of a memory. When the Teklak were looking for new material, as in minerals and elements and what have you to fight with, they turned around and found Earth. And that was great. It was rich in all the material and all the minerals they were looking for. Right. But then and I was right, it's a Xenon. But when they got here, they found it inhabited by humans. The Civil War started when the Teklak went, okay, these guys taste good, so we're just going to clean the planet off completely. Now understand, this happened before the consortium moved into the area when they first tried to make this maneuver. Well, some of the Teklak we're not happy with this, and started fighting against their own people. And of course, because we have to go way back to the Srazazians as to where the war between them really started, because the Drakes expanded their empire, but they expanded too quick and they had to cut off communication with three branches: the Srazazians, the Tormanon, and the Kamalian. Well, the Teklak spotted the weakening lines between the Draconian Empire and the Srazazian branch, and they cut the contact off early. Well, Srazazians took kind of an offense to it, but when this other part ended up kicking in, the Srazazians started to bolster the rebelling Teklak. Wrong word. Anyway, we get
the point. Keith, I'm going to have to get you to hold on right there because we do have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Our Keith Andrews has the Woo Train up to second gear. We'll make the shift when we return with the ET Connection and audience questions right through the night. Our Keith Andrews joins us once a month to talk everything extraterrestrial, and it's a lot of fun tonight. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. All right, buddy, we're clear.
Okay.
Mennonite Abe, you got the next question. And who else has joined us here? I got to catch up in the chat room here. I will ask the questions. Mennonite Apes is on hold. So, hello, gorgeous Jessica McCreary. The lovely Kira, thank you for a wonderful super sticker. Very much appreciate that. And who else is here that we are seeing? Just come on in. Oh, we're caught up in the chat room. There we go.
That's okay. That won't last long. The caught up part, I mean.
Yeah, very true. Well, we have 120 people watching right now, or 114, pardon me, and we only got 50 thumbs up. Let's get that up to 100 tonight. We need 50 more thumbs up if you don't mind. If you haven't hit thumbs up or even thumbs down, I don't really care. Just do it, because apparently the YouTube algorithms like it.
No, I didn't know that. Of course, I don't know a lot about the algorithms. No, I was quite pleased, even with my own channel. I was quite pleased. I'm not quite at 200. I mean, you're doing phenomenal. And let's face it, I'm just not competing with anybody. But I'm like 3 steps away from breaking 200 at this point, which to me is quite nice. What are we looking at here? I don't even know where you find a thumbs up. I was trying to, but that's
it's
just
on the
not
YouTube main page. We're at 78. We need 22 more. 22 more, if you don't mind. Oh, there she is. The lovely and talented Nicole Sakic has arrived. And, oh, goodness, I missed that question. Hold on, where is it here? Oh, did I screw up here? Hold on. It's just above here. That Mennonite Abe was next. And who else has joined us? And Lee Poping, how are you? Solaire, good to see you.
There we are. See, now if it looked long enough, I could find it eventually.
You're a good man. Eric with a K, welcome back to your first favorite show. We're number one in Eric with a K's life. There, I finally admitted it, Eric with a K. You do have the Doc Brown look going, buddy.
Yeah, I was actually looking. I could not believe it. I came across a picture of mine from, 7 years ago. And my hair was down to just about my elbows.
Growing out again. I think when I met you, your hair was quite long.
Yeah. The reality is that much as I told my other half, I'm not losing the sideburns. She prefers a shorter haircut, so I don't really have a problem with it.
That's good. That's good. All right. Big thank you to Kira, Dogface Man, and Samantha for the Super Chats. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, and we should have our shop fixed up pretty good for you. I know a bunch of you wanted to buy some T-shirts, and our WooCommerce is being a little screwed up right now, but we are getting that fixed here very, very soon. And, much love to each and every one of you who are veterans out there. Thank you for listening to this show. You always have a safe home here. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We are hanging on out with the man who drives the Woo train. We call him the conductor around here, taking audience questions as we get right back into it. And Keith, welcome back. And let's get right to Mennonite Abe's question here. What aliens are inhabiting Skinwalker Ranch?
Now, I'm gonna have to ask one very, very odd question.
What is Skinwalker Ranch?
Huh?
What is Skinwalker Ranch, or what are aliens?
No, I know. Well, that would be an odd one, but no, I don't know much about Skinwalker Ranch itself. But by the sounds of it, you're dealing with, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but the theory is that Skinwalker Ranch is inhabited or frequented by shapeshifters.
All sorts of presence there. They believe there's been demonic presence. There's been Sasquatch there, skinwalkers, shadow people. They believe there's portals where alien ships come in and out over top of the ranch.
Okay. That would put it that would end up being the Terianthropes. Terianthropes they look partially human, partially animal, but the variations on them are incredible. And of course, I have no doubt with the Sasquatch being there, that's another one of the races that run into conflict with each other. The Wara and the Sasquatch. Sasquatch being very passive, the Wara being a whole lot less so.
Oh.
And yeah, it stands to reason with that many, they likely have something under it to facilitate incoming craft. Likely in a lake, which is a normal place to put them.
All right, let's move on to Amber here. How many alien hybrid humans are there among us on Earth, and are they dangerous?
I have not got a clue of the numbers. And as for are they dangerous? No more so than other humans are. You'll find that members of every race are as varied in temperament as humans are.
Very cool. Comment from Mennonite Abe. Dave, I booked my flight and hotel for the SOR Vegas extravaganza. Excited. It is April 22nd to 24th at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, the SOR fan party. We have 40 registered at info@spacedoutradio.com. info@spacedoutradio.com. And we want to see you all there. We really do, because it's going to be a good time. We've got a bunch of fun guests coming, and we have like people you've heard on the show, and then we have a bunch of all of our listeners coming. Oh, man, I am looking forward to it. Oh, we're like 7 weeks away. 7 weeks away from Vegas. Oh, yeah. Yes. All right, let's move on. Alaric wants to know, is the Earth flat, Keith?
Not even remotely close. Well, I guess remotely, but no. It isn't exactly a globe, but it is absolutely not flat. I like the way it was put by one person. It couldn't possibly be flat, because with the number of cats here, they'd knock everything off it. But no, the Earth itself is it's easiest to draw it as a globe. But the reality is it's more teardrop shaped than anything else.
All right.
But that's because of the way it travels through the universe.
In the studio would like to know, I'm just wondering about 3 dots and a slash I had on my thumb, and it was gone an hour or so later.
I'm guessing we are talking 3 dots that are in an equilateral triangle, and between the 2 bottom ones would be the slash. Okay, and I'm presuming that's what he's referring to. Okay, and with that in mind, just looking to make sure I got the right information. What you're looking at, those are the marks. Usually they get placed, and I don't know why the genius way, it had to be a rookie, because usually those marks are placed behind the ear, or in the back, in that little divot behind the ear, or sometimes under the jawline. But you're talking about an impact from a dextrospanalizer. And what the heck is that?
Yes.
That is the hybridization, extraction, and implantation device they use for withdrawing DNA and putting a bug in. If it was only there for an hour or so, the odds are they didn't put a bug in, because it wouldn't have taken without you knowing about it right away. And humans seem to get very edgy about that.
I wonder why. We got...
they don't like being watched.
All right. Swamp Dweller wants to know, and we love the Swamp Dweller around here. Keith, have you ever heard of a species called the Dero? Dero.
Sounds like the only time I've heard that term was actually coined. It is actually a race, but it first became apparent actually through Dungeons and Dragons. They're actually an underground dwarfish race. Funny part is that the people that built Dungeons and Dragons did not design the races. The races were there first. But you're talking about a very specific, if you will, race of the dwarfid community. They are not off-worlders. They're an ancient race.
Are they underground?
Yes. In what most people call inner Earth or Middle Earth or Hollow Earth. There's a lot of different names for it.
All right. Thank you, Swampy, for that awesome question. Another great Swamp Dweller story coming up in Hour 3. And I always love to promote his channel. If you get a chance, go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, and you can have hours of entertainment of spooky stories there as well. That's what literally I do every night before I go to bed. Throw on some Swamp Dweller. Makes me feel good. Fall asleep nice and easy after getting freaked out. All right, let's move on here. Cyan, welcome to our channel, is asking, Keith, which races do you predominantly work with, and what do they look like?
Well, I deal predominantly with the Strazazian, 7.5 to 8.5 foot reptilian. I do deal periodically with the Tekleg. The Talon don't like talking to me at all because, well, frankly, they don't like me. I do deal a lot with the Greys and with the Nordics. Those are some of the more common ones. I have a hoot though dealing with those are the off-world races, but I've got friends amongst the Elfid race, amongst the Dwarven race. That came out easily, and even the Merfolk are a wonderful group of people.
All right. Solaire would like to know, are the Pleiadians going to come save us?
No. And here's why. Mankind, like all of the other entities, was given free will, free choice. And the Pleiadians are not, the whole consortium, their whole doctrine, if you will, says they will protect the planet. Okay. Like if humans are doing something that will destroy the planet, yeah, they'll step in. But if the humans are doing something that will just wipe themselves out, that's mankind's problem. Mankind has to realize that you're all the same species. Now, there are hybrids here, absolutely. But mankind has to evolve to the point where they realize that skin color and economic status, or for that matter, sexual orientation, do not matter. You're still part of the same species. You're still living on the same planet. So, in a nutshell, get along. Now, will they come in and help certain individuals that they've made friends with or made contact with? Absolutely. But are they going to come in and straighten this mess out? No. And in all fairness, you really don't want them to. Okay, because the first instinct, the first way that and I talked to them about it the other day, just a couple of weeks ago, their first move to bring peace to this planet would be to use a subquantum global EMP pulse that not only wiped out all electronics, but wiped out every existing component that had already been put together. In other words, all the miles of wires that people have backlogged ready to put computers together would not function. And they would bomb us right back to the Stone Age in a matter of seconds.
All right, let's go over to Vivster's question. If you only had one non-confrontational visit from a Grey, what does that mean?
They came, they talked to you, did an assessment and decided that for whatever reason, they didn't require or you didn't have a specific pattern they were looking for. And it may not even be in the subquantum matrix.
Amber would like to know, are reptilians completely different from ETs? Have you ever met a reptilian?
I've run into about a dozen different races of reptilians. And they're as completely different from each other as they are from other off-worlders. You take a look at the Teklag. They're only 3.5 to 4.5 feet long. They're 4.5 to 5.5 feet long, about 3.5 feet tall. Right. Very aggressive. And they have no qualms about taking people out. You take a look at a Drake, and although they're 15 feet tall, they'll stand there and look at you and go, I've got no interest in doing anything to you. The Drakes have no interest in interacting with humans
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create new possibilities, from intelligent automation to security that hunts for threats in the wild. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com. Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create new possibilities, from intelligent automation to security that hunts for threats in the wild. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
When all the conflict is said and done, they'll try and settle in and control it, but the consortium won't let them. And bear in mind, when you've got members of the consortium that can disassemble somebody on a molecular level, it gets pretty obvious why you don't touch it.
All right, let's move on here. Mr. Grey Owl wants to know, are the reptilians cold-blooded? Because, dang it, it'd be hard to conduct operations in the frosty north with no body heat.
Yeah, they sleep quite nicely. Some of them are, but most of them are actually carnivores. So needless to say, the ones that are cold-blooded, as he surmised, are not as much of a threat up in the north. You know, you take a look at the armored ones. When you take a look at the Tormenon, the Thrazazian, the Drakes, okay, when you look at those ones, you're looking at, and the Kamalians, you're looking at a race that has built-in heaters underneath their armor. Now, the Chitauri you'll never find in the North Country for exactly that reason. Thin-skinned, cold-blooded, making them almost impossible to spot in their underground caverns.
All right,
fortunately, they're also passive.
Let's head over to Russia, where Don would like to know if we'll ever find out the truth of the Dyatlov Pass incident, and do you think aliens or Yeti were involved?
Well, not knowing what the Dyatlov Pass incident was.
We've talked about it before, Keith, a little while ago. Yeah, this was one where the 9 skiers went missing, and they were violently killed.
Bingo. Okay, there's only one race I can think of up that end that would have been directly involved. Wouldn't have been the Sasquatch or the Yeti, but the Wara would have torn people apart without even blinking. Okay, and the Wara look very much like the Sasquatch. Right, they're a little different configuration, but they are excessively violent. But that being said, it would have had to have been a rogue group because it certainly wouldn't have been authorized. It was likely a research party that ran into the skiers and decided that they had interrupted their territory. Wouldn't be a shock for the Wara to have the skiers run into their camp by accident. And because of the temperament of the Wara, they would have taken it as an attack right off the bat.
All right.
Yeah, which would have, and it undoubtedly would have been a bloody mess to look at.
Let's go over to Kira here. What race lives under Uluru in Australia that are tall, white, and live in crystalline cities?
In all likelihood, you're running into the Aldebarans. The tall white would be the Aldebarans. The crystalline cities would be Vulcan. Mind you, they've been known to work together, as in to get along. Because there are Vulcans on this planet, and Vulcans are not green-blooded, pointy-eared individuals. They're crystalline entities.
Are they peaceful?
Very. The reason you know that is because the cities down that they're underneath are still standing. See, the Vulcans have the capacity for optical manipulation of the subterranean strata. Net result, they drop a city down without even blinking. The other race that can do that would be the dwarfid race.
All right, let's move on here to another question. Samantha would like to know, are ETs vulnerable to gunfire?
That depends on the ET. But I will guarantee, it doesn't matter what the ET is, if you shoot at them, don't ask if they're friendly after you've shot, because they're not. You know, I mean, it depends, like if you take, for instance, somebody that's got an armored shell, an armored carapace, like when you take a look at the Strazazian, they grow their own armor. You are never going to punch a hole in it with a small weapon, with a small firearm. On the other hand, you shoot a gray, very vulnerable to bullets, to ballistic attack. Of course, not advisable given what they use for weaponry.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to another one. Alaric wants to know, is there no God?
There absolutely is a God. Thing is, God created the whole 9 yards. And before people jump on that, I'm not here to prove it to anybody. God created the whole 9 yards, gave everybody free will and freedom of choice. But that being said, turned around, he turned around and went, here's all the good things you can do, here's all the evil things you can do. Okay, get along and choose. I prefer you choose the good things, but it's up to you. Everybody has free will. What they don't have freedom from is the consequences of their actions. Now, God is known by multiple different names. Okay, even amongst humans, God is known by multiple different names.
Okay. Let us go to another question. Asteroid would like to know if you could talk about the beliefs of the Dogon in Africa.
I wish I could say I could, but I haven't looked into their religion. Primarily because I haven't come across it yet, and I don't do a whole lot of research.
All right, let's move on to the Swamp Dweller. In your opinion, what is the purpose of abduction?
The majority of that purpose, across the board, it's research. They're trying to understand this fledgling race at the most amazing period in socioeconomic evolution. Many of the races are, especially the Greys, are abducting people from a standpoint of simply the hybridization program to grow cultural interpreters. Some of them, when you deal with Pleiadians, they abduct to straighten out problems of individuals that they've come across or that they've been called in to help with. Nordics, they've still got this brilliant idea that though they've been deposed, they should still be gods on this planet, but the Greys keep them in check pretty well. And of course, when you start looking at the ancient races, it's more a social call. Let's abduct the people, because they won't come willingly, but once we get them down there, we'll treat them nicely and develop a relationship with them. So, you're looking at a lot of different reasons for abduction, and not all of them are volatile. If we take a look at the Teklek, they're looking for new recipes. If you're ever invited to dinner with a Teklek, turn them down.
All right, let's move on to another question. This one from the lovely Jan. How do you have contact with all of these aliens, Keith?
In a nutshell, more often than not, it's physical relocation. Some of them are in contact by either astral projection or telepathic imprint. Okay, but I've been taken more often than I care to count. That's why when I talk about the races I've dealt with, I'm talking about firsthand. These are ones that I've run into face to face. Some of the elementals you just don't deal with. not close up. Like, never shake a hand with a fire elemental. It's a bad idea. As I'm sure you can well imagine why. But for me, more often than not, well, just a couple months back, my son was up at the time, and, you know, we were up battling around the house, and I all of a sudden walked outside and looked up. And he asked me, walked out on the balcony and looked up, and he asked me what I was looking at. So I pointed out, he looks at me and he goes, "You're being taken tonight, aren't you, Dad?" You know, that's just running the mill around here.
All right, let's go to Mr. Gray Owl, as we got about a minute. Are shapeshifters, a.k.a. polymorphs, a.k.a. doppelgangers, an individual race or power group?
No, they are. There are some that are literally. They are literally a specific race. The Korlok are a specific race, and the easiest way to describe the Korlok, watch the old show Deep Space Nine and look at Odo. There's a Korlok. Okay. Some are technologically, what they've done is developed a technological overlay, so they create a hologram. Okay. And then, of course, you've got your Terianthropes, which they're metabolic shapeshifters. They will shift between one physical form and humanoid, or halfway in the middle. The most common type of Terianthrope that people have seen are lycanthropes, your werewolves.
We'll leave it right there. Our Keith Andrews, the ET Connection. We are through 1 hour. We got 1 hour to go with Keith. And we'll continue with audience questions right here on Spaced Out Radio. A great night of the ET Connection, where our Keith is dabbling on the woo hardcore tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back. All right, we're clear. Hi, River Dogma. Hi, D. Cohen. And who else is here that I'm missing so far? I'm way behind, guys, in the chat room by a few minutes here. Thank you, Swamp Dweller. Much love to you, my friend. Ozzy Rob and his Ham Hawks. How you doing tonight? Ghosted 360, welcome to our channel. Michael Darling, good to see you. And if you can, hit that thumbs up. If you don't mind, if you haven't already. Oh, it's Longhorn Paranormal right there. There they are. Love them. Down in Texas. They have big horns down there. Some would say they are horny for ghosts. Horny. Wow! Look who it is, everyone. It is Hallmark Corey. He'll be down in Vegas with us, along with his big daddy, Nate Foot. Hanging out. Dude, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right. We're going to have a good show here tonight. Mitchell, how you doing, man? Good to see you, buddy. Old Davy's doing good. Old Davy's doing good. Getting excited. San Francisco in a couple of weeks. Vegas right after that. Now, if you've already posted a question, I will get to it, okay? I will get to it because I have them all marked here, so you don't need to repost them. Thank you, Ozzy Rob, for that awesome super chat, along with Kira, Dogface, and Samantha. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very much. Thank you. Awesome. So happy right now. You're funny, Luscious Jules. You crack me up. It was an awesome joke, Davy Crotch Kick. Awesome joke. River Dogma, as long as it's in that email, you will get yourself a 2XL. How about that? It's just that way. The gorgeous Teresa. She'll be in Vegas for the Vegas party. Yeah, she will. Waylon, how are you? Good to see you. Look at our Keith there. Look at our Keith. Styling, profiling, limousine riding, UFO flight. He's the king of the jungle right there. Woo!
Rest assured, I will be utilizing a limousine when I can. Found that out years ago that they're far more comfortable to ride in than a cab.
Very true.
Oh, Dave.
Yes.
I think I'll wait until, because I'll let everybody know when we come back on air. I do have something to tell people that was very exciting from my standpoint. But we'll wait till I get back on the air to just drop that one in people's laps.
Sure. We got 2 minutes, buddy.
Just banging on the door.
We got 2 minutes.
Okie doke.
Thank you, Clam. Mr. Lurks-a-Lot, thank you for the 100th thumbs up of the night. I got to be up early for hockey practice. My son's final morning hockey practice of the season tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Beautiful. Beautiful. I better start scrolling back up so I can find that question here. Oh, there we are. All right, Keith, we got literally an hour full of questions already here, so we're going to have to burn through some of these because there will be more.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, a big thank you once again to Ozzy, Rob, Kira, Dogface, and Samantha for the amazing super chats. Wonderful way to support what we do. Thank you to all the veterans who are tuning on in. Don't forget this weekend, Lynn Wallington and the After Hours crew getting together for Spaced Out Weekend and the After Hours show Saturday and Sunday starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Here we go, everyone, with hour number 2 right now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you for taking the time to spend with us. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, where we take audience questions, learning everything about extraterrestrial contact, alien abduction, hybrid programs, UFOs. Where the hell are these aliens coming from? This is why we love Keith around here. He is the conductor of the SOR Woo Train. Keith, welcome back.
And thank you for having me. Welcome back to everybody that's joined us or that's still hanging with us.
All right, we got a ton of questions from our audience lined up here. Let's start off with Nicole, who is asking, Keith, can you talk about any technology that is like the programmable matter in Star Trek Discovery?
She's talking about what the heck are they called now? Programmable matter, the technology, the Xenons actually have that. They are programmable technology. Essentially, the Xenon are living robots. They are not cyborgs. They are literally they are a robotic entity. But we are talking, and she's talking nanotech. And much as nanotech exists with the off-worlders, humans have not managed to get it small enough to work on it properly. But I did finally figure out why they were trying to, which is a bad idea anyway. But, we're talking nanotechnology. And from a cellular standpoint, it can be done very easily. Trying to do it with mechanical bonds, that's where they run into problems. But the nice part about it is humans can actually do that themselves. Every human can do it. They just people are taught you can't.
All right, let us move on here. And Downshift wants to know, what's the most dangerous species in the entire universe? I know you're going to say man. We're talking aliens, though.
No, man is actually pretty pathetic where it comes to killing people. If you want a dangerous species, the Zerziks are probably one of the more deadly. The Zerziks can absorb matter like that. Just bang and you're gone. Molecular deconstitution right off the hop.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create new possibilities, from intelligent automation to security that hunts for threats in the wild. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com. Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype. Let's tweak. Let's test. Let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
But they don't have the reason they're not as deadly as they could be is they've got no interest in doing so. Okay, some of the other races that are absolutely deadly are your elephant race, which is not an off-world race. It's actually a race that evolved on Earth. Well, more to the point, was created on Earth and then evolved from there. But they have access to direct what people call magic, as in mutter a couple of words and alter the landscape. Okay, if you look at the Vegans. Vegans are a dangerous group because they've got no pain center, which means they have no fear of pain. They have no comprehension of it. So if you're looking at somebody that's got a dangerous commodity a dangerous part to them, they rank up there. The Archons will literally eat a small planet. And so it depends on what category you're looking at. The Moldocs are a violent race, as are the Wara. Whether they're the most dangerous race, I really don't know. When you look at the Talons, they're one of the more aggressive, and the Kinlar rank right up there. The Kinlar will kill each other trying to get the credit for the kill, even if all they're doing is going and looking for dinner.
All right, let's move on. Keith, this is a question from Kim, new listener to our chat room. Are you a member of the council?
No. I'm a consultant to them quite often, but I am not actually a member of it. Primarily because of the fact I'm from here, Earth is not a full member of the consortium. Because in order for that to happen, mankind has to get along with mankind. But do I work in conjunction with them a lot of the time, or am I called in periodically because of a situation they're having trouble figuring out? The answer is yes.
Okay, let's move on here. And let's go over to Lipblade. Beautiful name. Is the Antarctic a regular stopping point for aliens?
Oddly enough, it's an access point. So technically the answer would be yes. Okay, but the two poles have access points. Okay, into what we call inner Earth or hollow Earth or whatever you want to call it. You know, many of the ancient races tend to refer to it as home.
Okay, let us move on. Amber would like to know, how many planets are really in space? Do aliens inhabit them all?
First of all, I have no clue as far as the number of planets goes. That's somebody else's department. And as for are they all inhabited? Absolutely not. Some are still at primordial evolution, and therefore are not old enough to carry life, or to support it for that matter.
How come?
Well, planets, like people, start off very small and slowly grow as they're getting older. Well, until you get to a certain age, they cannot hold an atmosphere of any form, and therefore they cannot support life. Bear in mind, an atmosphere is not always an oxygen-based thing.
Fidgety Aura would like to know, are there any races who masquerade as house pets, dogs, cats, birds? If so, why would they, and how common is it? Is there a way to tell?
How common it is a debatable point. But watch the behavior. Some animals, like it's pretty difficult to tell. I mean, if you come in and find your dog all of a sudden playing Mozart, odds are he's not an actual canine. But why they would do it is some of them will do it because they're hiding from their own races. Okay, some of them will do it because they're just curious what animals go through. You know, and they'll talk to for instance, they'll talk to a cat. And they'll go, oh, I want to experience something like that because their world isn't the same way. You know, it's actually quite normal. If you're in England, there's something there called what the heck are they called? Not river rats, but the big brown rats. The Kinlar will blend in with them quite readily, just to get the lay of the land. Because it's easier to watch what humans are doing if humans aren't looking for them.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. And Goof Ida says, I had an encounter with a tall gray, tried to take a photo in stealth. It went nuts. We got into a fight. I broke its arm, and it beamed up. Will they come after me?
No. It's, in all fairness, I wouldn't bet on it. What you're dealing with is you ran into a controller. They are not built for combat. Okay, but they know coming down to earth that humans, being the aggressive, temperamental, and fearful individuals they are, it can get dicey. Which is why the second you broke its arm, it got beamed out of there right off the bat. But no, the odds of that, they don't carry a retaliatory grudge. Actually, they're more likely to come after you if they hurt. If they hurt you, they're more likely to come and take you to repair the damage they did than if you hurt them.
Okay. And let us go here to Game Vet. Keith, do you know anything about a 6-foot-tall, phallus-looking creature with an octagon red eye?
Yeah, you're talking about a subspecies or a different class, if you will, of the Spironochdin. They look, well, they do have a phallus appearance, but they look like a mushroom. Is really the easiest way to put it. In more, shall we say, more simplistic terms.
All right.
But they're very harmless. You'll see them more often in Hollow Earth than you will out and about on the surface of the Earth. Something about the penchant for humans liking to have mushroom soup, and well, that's one heck of a mushroom.
Well, you know what? I mean, hey, if they prefer in than out, why not? That's all I got to say. Phallus. Not said enough on this show. All right, as we continue on here with R. Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, let us, Keith, I want to ask you a question in regards to people and children. Is there a certain age now? I know you were taken at a young age in the crib. I know Samantha Mowat, it happened there as well. Many others who've been taken at 4 or 5 years old. I mean, why take children that young? What's the purpose?
Because they're not already programmed.
They're not already programmed.
Children, when they're before 4 years old, are instinctively open with other races. They don't judge people based on their appearance or the sounds they make. They just simply are curious. So if you pick up a 3 or 4 year old, they get used to the idea, and by the time they're hitting 6 or 7, when they're actually starting to ask questions, they've already got a stable rapport, making it easier to work with them. That would be the primary reason for going after the little guys.
Okay. So, when going after the little ones, is that a pre-birth contract that they are going to have contact?
Ultimately, yes. For that matter, the people that are having contact now made a pre-birth agreement to go through this sort of thing. Let's face it, most people do not make this choice as a cognitive human.
No, I understand that. I totally understand that, but I just find it curious, that's all. All right, let's move on. Jenny wants to know, Keith, there seems to be a lot about our planet we don't know. Can you fill us in a little?
Well, number one, the planet itself is actually a living organism. Okay, the planet itself is a race called the Caboran. Okay, now it was created. It was literally built. Well, by Terran terms, about 5 billion years ago, maybe 6. Okay, and it has evolved of its own accord. A lot of the rumblings that people hear, the atmospheric rumblings we hear, quite often that is simply the Caboran reacting to the negative energy that's being built on the planet. Okay. There are many of the races that people call mythological are actually living races that have just gone into hiding. And yes, they will end up surfacing again. The other thing that we also have to realize is that that being a Caboran, now Caboran refers to the planets that are actually alive. There are many planets out there that are simply masses of material that never took on a life. But this planet, mankind being the most technologically advanced surface-dwelling race, as a surface-dwelling species, is the designated caretaker of Earth. Okay, the other thing, Earth itself, many people call either Earth, or many know her as Mother Earth or Gaia. She introduced herself to me as Itza. Okay, as in by name. But she's got, when people talk about destroying the Earth, mankind's technology has not evolved to the point where it can destroy the Earth. It could absolutely play havoc with the surface of it. Okay, and that is where the off-worlders come in to help. Is if mankind's going to do something that blatantly ill-advised. But if you pay attention, and I do this regularly, but you can hear the plants talk to each other. You can hear the rocks when they communicate, and the wind itself communicates across the globe. You know, these things all have their own stories to tell. You know, there is a common, if you will, trade language spoken amongst the animals, plants, and the minerals of this planet. And from that matter, other planets.
All right. Peppa wants to know, is there a way to know if you're a hybrid?
There's a couple of things that would lead it to that. I mean, technically, you could go to the doctor. I would not recommend that method. But you take a look at your medical. Okay. If you're either highly, and these are only indicators on their own, they don't mean anything. And I just got something in my eye. But if your immune system is either highly reactive or virtually non-reactive, it's a possibility. Dietary requirements, and I don't mean likes, I mean requirements, is also another indicator. Like some people require, their body just will not metabolize. They will not metabolize meat. Okay. And there are races that just cannot metabolize meat. And therefore they don't. Of course, there's some that don't metabolize it. They eat it and spit it at the back end. But take a look at the way you're thinking. Are there little discrepancies, but are there major discrepancies between the way you're thinking and the way that the people that you've come in contact with or that you've heard about are thinking? That can be an indicator. And of course, your optical relays and your auditory inputs can also indicate it. But the best way I can tell it is you look at all those, and then you look in your heart, and you ask yourself, does this feel normal? Do I feel like I'm not just of one world? Okay. Now, can I, from my standpoint, the question that's bound to come up after that, can I identify them with a few questions? The answer is yes, but again, I won't do it on the air.
Right. All right. Let's go to Sean's question here. Sean McCarthy, welcome to our chat room. Keith, can you spell out Earth's name for us? Is it Etha?
No. Y-T-A-U. Sorry, Y-T-F-A-U. Itza.
Very cool. And who told you that? What alien species told you that?
The Kaboran that we're standing on. Well, sitting on. Earth herself told me. Awesome. We got 3.5 minutes to go here until the break at the bottom of the hour. Keith, back to, children who are, brought into ET contact. For a child, is it always going to be lifelong? No. Sometimes the contract is just, I want to get to see them so I know they exist. The contract ahead of time, I just want to have cognitive memory of them really existing. So they bring them in as a youngster, and then they leave them alone. And that's where the contract ends. That's usually an individual contract. As in, like in your case, when you ended up dealing with, I've got a good memory, but very short, with your little friend.
Carl,
thank you. I just pull a blank on names sometimes.
Oh, we kind of like him. We kind of like him around here. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we?
Well, he did push limits for you. Like,
Truth.
really pushed them, but...
Well, I'm waiting. I am waiting.
Oh, just a quick note, Dave.
Yes.
I mentioned I was going to say this before we got off here.
Right.
The Elder Bachian Chronicles I've been writing.
Yes.
I just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, I had an Italian publisher contact me. They're looking into translating it.
Oh, very nice.
Into various different languages.
Very nice. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, that was kind of a shock to get that email.
No kidding. No kidding. You should be shocked over that. I mean, not in a bad way, but in a happy way.
Oh, no. Very, very pleased with it, in all fairness. You know, so they're going through the manuscript right now. They'll get back to me in about a month, apparently.
Well, let's have our fingers crossed that there's something really, really awesome that follows up with that.
Well, I sure hope so, and I will keep people posted.
As you
But
should.
the funny thing is, a lot of the things we talk about here are written in the different booklets I've been writing or in the novels.
Oh, so you've been bringing us weirdos into it too.
Well, to be fair, I have been, not specific people, but many of the races that we talk about,
Yeah.
are actually included in the Elder Bachian Chronicles.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, so we got a place for the weirdos in the Elder Bachian Chronicles that our Keith Andrews has put out for us. Wonderful. I'm always excited about that, Keith, having my weirdo-ness come into play.
Well, it does, more often than you might think, but, you know. And, you know, the reality is, it's because of this show and the people that were on it 7 years ago that I ended up actually doing the video broadcast, the vlog, I think they call it.
Right. Well, on that note, Keith, we got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, where we are going to continue with the woo, because that's what we do. Spaced Out Radio with our Keith Andrews, and the ET Connection continues right after this. All right, Keith, we are clear.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to go get myself a cold drink. Not that type. Be right back.
All right. Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Ken?
Let's go there. And let's see here. Doug Shelby, the Doug Shelby. Thank you for that awesome super chat, man. Really do appreciate that. Does Stunning Samantha know you dropped that 5 spot on us just like that? Does she know? I mean, that could have been, put together for her dinner. Just saying. John Ballerman, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Let me get... we will start there. Next half hour. All of a sudden, the ball on my mouse is like moving like really, really slow. Thank you, Dogface Boy, again. Wow. Thank you so much.
Millions of Americans are getting back to work. CareerBuilder calls it the great rehire. And we want to help you get the best jobs before everyone else. CareerBuilder gives you the competitive edge to get the job you want, at the salary you want, with the benefits you want. We even send job alerts, so your perfect job lands right in your inbox. Go to CareerBuilder.com today, or get left with whatever jobs are left. Find your next job fast at CareerBuilder.com.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype, let's tweak, let's test, let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
And we are back.
We are back.
Yeah, I told you it wouldn't take you long to get behind on the questions.
I know. Oh my God, this is driving me nuts. My mouse. It's the wheel on the mouse is like going like really, really slow. It's driving me crazy.
What are you using for a mouse pad?
I don't need one.
That's the problem.
Don't need
one. What I find with mine is if I don't have one, if I've got it sitting on a flat surface, the wheel doesn't go properly.
It doesn't have a ball in the bottom. I'm talking, it's a laser. I'm talking this one right here.
Yeah.
Which is weird because now that I'm using it up in the air, damn it, you're right, probably. Using it up in the air, it's working fantastic.
I have first generation holographic interface.
I'm cleaning like anything right here. See if that works. All right, that seems to be working a little bit better. Oh, where is my comment here? Where the hell did it go?
I don't know.
That shit's down here. I gotta find the damn... There it is! Found it! Now my wheel is going. All right, a big thank you to Dogface ×2, Kira, Robert, Samantha, and the Doug Shelby for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much for the love you guys have for this show. I really do appreciate it. We're going to get going here in about 30 seconds, or less than that, right now. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you for for tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We have Keith until the top of the hour here on the show. We're going to get right to audience questions regarding everything extraterrestrial. Keith, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right.
It's been a phenomenally fast show. Fabulous per day questions.
All right. Well, they're going to continue right now. We're going to rapid fire them at you. Wham Bam Ham wants to know, are alternative timelines used by extraterrestrials?
More from a viewing standpoint than anything else. But even with alternative timelines, you still cannot go back in time to check something. Because time itself is a pretty static little configuration. You can jump forward, but if you jump forward, you can't come back, so you're pretty much hooked.
All right. Terry wants to know, do you know if the cryptid people refer to as Dogman is actually a werewolf?
From everything I've heard about who Dogman is, I would be inclined to say it's a good bet. There are a couple of other ones, but because of the fact we are talking canine configuration, the werewolf is the best bet for it. I don't know personally which it is. Of course, I haven't been out that end.
All right, Mr. Grey Wolf is wondering, can werewolves be reasoned with, or does encountering one boil down to a fight to the death?
No, they are definitely an intellectually advanced race. They just tend to get real testy when people go out hunting for them. And then they go on the self-defensive method, which means wipe out whoever is trying to hunt you down.
Stephanie would like to know, Keith, what was your first experience, and do you ever get scared anymore?
First experience would have been the day I was born, when I decided I did not like this planet and pulled my life energy out of it and took off, ran into the Council of 12. And do I still get scared? There's one race that still creates a problem for me, and that's the Talons. But that's seeded because they were the ones that actually did a lot of damage when I was a child. But on the whole, no. I had a daemon walk through the wall into my house with a bunch of friends in there. And he literally looked at me and he goes, "I am Mephistopheles. You will fear me." My immediate reaction, I just looked at him. The other four ran up against the wall. They were literally terrified. Right. I just looked at the guy and I says, "After lunch." So he repeated himself. And I looked at him and I said, "We already covered that. After lunch." Right. Yeah, it was not a reaction he was planning.
Only you, my friend. Only you. Nikki would like to know, why would a 7-foot-tall, skinny gray E.T. actually feel like a male father figure to a human that they are abducting?
They have the ability to project an empathic resonance in order to help you feel more comfortable. And for a child, that becomes very easy.
So does one alien stick with you the entire time? Like, will Carl stick with me kind of thing?
Most of the time, the answer is yes. Because it's easier to understand what people are doing if you know their patterns. Every time you bring in a new research crew, they've got to set down their own baselines to figure it out again.
Amber would like to know, what do aliens like to eat and drink?
That depends on who they are and what race they are. I mean, if you're looking at shadow walkers, they prefer drinking blood. The fresher, the better. You take a look at the Teklik, they prefer humans and I mean, they like the human blood and what have you. Most carnivores are very happy with blood, But on the other hand, you have some races like the Arborians that drink water. If you look at the dwarfid race, 90% of their meals are based on fermented food. And yes, that does mean 3/4 of the time they are drunk.
Wonderful. So there's a bunch of raging alcoholic aliens running around up there in spaceships they can't control. At least we know what crashed at Roswell now.
No, sorry to tell you this, but the dwarfid race are not off-worlders. They're underground. But the same rule applies.
Do the underground races, like the dwarfid in them, do they have spaceships too?
Most of them, no. The ones that have spaceships are usually visitors that have come in and then have the ships get back out. But the races that evolved here, like the Gron, have no idea what to do with a spaceship. It was funny, I watched a group of them one day trying to figure out what a small shuttle was for. And they tried figuring it out by grabbing logs and beating on it. They eventually did get it open, but it wouldn't fly after that. Gron aren't known for being the brightest people on the planet.
No, I understand that, and I can appreciate that, even though I don't know what the hell a Gron is.
Minotaur.
Gotcha. I want to see one of those. Where can I see one?
Go to Hollow Earth. They have literally thousands of them down there.
Do any of these species ever just come up and check things out the way they did back in the Greek and Roman days?
Yes. You'll find Nordics periodically, Aldebarans you'll find, and I'm talking, these are just the off-worlder ones. The ones that are from this planet, you'll find Arborians, the Elfid, the Dwarfid race. Many fairies will come up to take a poke around. Once in a while, you may see an Udaki, also known as a Satyr. And of course, the Nordics come, the Greys come down. Now, they don't tend to come down and be absolutely visible. You may find the occasional Venusian coming down. But if a Venusian comes down, they're undoubtedly going to bring a Martokian with them, because the Martokians look out for the Venusians. And yes, Venusians look very, very human. Martokians look pretty similar to humans, and as long as they wear baggy clothes, it won't be a problem. Aside from the fact they're green.
I understand.
But yeah, many of the races come down. And of course, we can safely say that what people know as doppelgangers will absolutely wander in. Of course, you don't want them wandering around much.
Mr. Grey Owl would like to know, do aliens then believe that drink is the curse of the working class, or that work is the curse of the drinking class?
Now, that becomes an issue of the individuals. Okay, when you take a look at the Dwarfid race, it's very simple. What do you mean we have to work without drinking? I mean, that's a good way to start a civil war right there. But most of them, many of the races, alcohol has a tendency of making them less productive. So yeah, the people that are running things certainly look at alcohol as that kind of drink as a curse or as a problem. But most of them look at it going, it's a very simple issue. In moderation, knock yourself out, but not on the job. Of course, when you look at some of the jobs that they work with, you don't want them drinking.
Okay. Amber would like to know, can an alien shapeshift to look like a typical person?
Only some races. Most of them, the answer is no. The Korlok are one of the few that can actually mimic anybody they want to. Okay, fortunately, they don't have the drive to do so. And before anybody jumps on that, no, none of the major players on this planet are, to the best of my knowledge, are of alien descent. Because by the Galactic Consortium standpoint, you don't do that. This planet must be run by humans, not by different races with a godplex. See, if you go back to the Roman times when we had the Roman gods, that was the Nords. When they first got here before the Consortium rolled in, they went, the people were going, oh, you guys are gods. And they went, great, then you're going to do everything for us and bring us all of our riches that we desire to have. When the Consortium got here, they went, you're not gods, you're leaving the planet now. Hence, all of a sudden, you get this transitional period where in a matter of years, all the Greek and Roman gods vanished. They went home.
All right, let us move on here as we continue on with our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Let's see here. Well, I think we actually caught up on questions already. Oh, here's one. Here's one from Nikki. Do you remember from a previous lifetime, Keith, what Stonehenge was originally used for?
Originally, it was a landing pad. It was literally set up for ships coming in where their landing gear didn't work right. So yeah, the ships that landed there were usually saucer-shaped, or the primary lower section of them was saucer-shaped. They would land on top of it. It wouldn't leave any marks on the ground, but it gave them the ability to settle in when they didn't actually, when the landing gear wasn't available or when it wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. It was a great stopover place. And of course, the thing is, the Druids at the time, they did not build Stonehenge, but they certainly capitalized on it.
Who built it then?
I'm still trying to piece that one out completely. It's the alignment that gets me. Okay, because it was designed as, I believe, quite frankly, that it was probably the Lemurians that put it together.
All right. Davey with the comment of the night. It's so funny how Keith kind of looks like Dave, fresh out of the dryer. Oh, my goodness. We have officially gone peak woo. I'm calling it right now, Keith. We have officially gone peak woo, which we try to do every time that you are here, my friend.
I gotta say, that's one of the best side comments I've seen come through here. You know?
All right, continuing on. Steve here is wondering, have you witnessed suspended animation tanks containing any beings?
Yes. It's fascinating the way they work, because it literally slows down the subquantum metabolic resonance in the entity, thereby sustaining all functions properly. Well, ultimately what it boils down to, I mean, they use suspended animation. Some of the less evolved races will use it to maintain a given individual long enough to get them to medical help. Because not all the races have matter relocation. They literally still have to drive to the ambulance, if you will. Of course, the other thing that has also been built into some of these animation chambers, or some of these cryogenic chambers, is suspended animation. Is they accelerate the healing while the person is completely unconscious. And the reason for that is, as long as the mind is shut down, it's easier to get the body to respond, instead of the issue that usually happens.
Right. Now, and I've heard of these too, where, people walk in and they see these tubes and they're full of gray aliens. And does that happen for every species? Or is that just
No.
for the ones that are kind of morphed into civilization or morphed into reality?
It's more a question of the socioeconomic side of it. Very few reptilians will ever have a suspended animation chamber. They may have one in a museum just for conversation. But when you take races that are cannibalistic and carrion eaters, somebody dies beside you, you throw them on the dinner table, you don't need animation. Right. And then, of course, you've got the other ones that go, oh, you're dying. Well, you're not diseased, we'll put you in the table. Oh, you are diseased, we'll throw you into the fusion reactor.
Very nice.
No, it cuts down on waste. But when they see the tubes with grays in them, the older and bigger vessels would use those for some of the more aged grays. If they are in positions that they're supposed to be teaching and they're moving to a new colony or they're moving to a new outlet, right? They'll put them in animation and get them there. That's more often than not if they're going to a place that is not heavily advanced already.
All right, Amber would like to know, how do we get to Middle Earth? Can we visit, come back? Do they have stores and a government?
Well, how you get there is going to be a real neat challenge. But they have multiple governments. They've got their own societies, so what you call stores, yeah, they certainly have them. But you might want to learn about in depth their cultures before you go down, because there are some of the races that will see it as plain normal. I mean, you take a look at the dwarvish greeting. Humans meet each other and you shake hands and you call it a day. Dwarves, they'll hammer their forehead into yours. Of course, that may mean they grab you by the lapels to pull you down first. But that's just a normal greeting for them. So, I mean, it really depends. Do they have various governments? Yes. And most of the time, like when you take a look at the elephant race, they have literally a matriarch and a patriarch. But they've got various different ones depending on the race of elephant that you're dealing with. When you're dealing with the Gron, their government is real simple. If you can beat the person to death.
Enterprise isn't just one of the world's largest transportation providers. We're a committed team, helping you get to what matters most: your family, your livelihood, and your next adventure. Getting you there begins with our employees, who are motivated to make a difference for you every day. Around the world and around the corner, in neighborhoods like yours. Connecting you to all the places you love. That's Enterprise.
Good things are going on.
Health.
There in Mississippi.
The importance of health. Blue Health. The experience of what it means to be healthy. Because taking care today leads to an even healthier tomorrow. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be healthy. It's good to be blue.
Or even into submission, you can do what you please. They've got an idea of ownership is literally 9/10 of the law. And if you get it by beating somebody to death, hey, so be it. They weren't good enough to hold their store. It's a whole different method, a different culture of it.
I can see that.
The other part of that question was, if you go, can you come back? Assuming you're still alive when you get done down there, they don't usually stop you from coming back. But they may wipe your memory out of the access point.
What is the purpose of the memory wiping?
It's their protection. Like, if are you talking for Hollow Earth, or are you talking overall?
Overall.
Overall, it's to protect people so that people can maintain their own stable life with minimal interference. So if you come back thinking it was a dream, or, thinking something to that effect, you can carry on with your life. And they see it as a little easier to work with. Like the off-worlders do. Sometimes it's because the person got into the wrong place at the wrong time, and you wipe the memory out so they don't take the wrong information back to a race that is inherently volatile.
I can see that.
Don't get me wrong, it's not just the humans that have that.
Do they do that? Do they do that to other species too? Wipe their memories?
That's what I was just going to say. You never leave technology of the caliber that the consortium uses. You never leave that in the Dark Elf hands. Because those guys are violent. I mean, their whole idea is with that race, literally their only cause of death is natural causes. There's never any accidents. There's never any suicide. Everything is always a natural cause. Because naturally you will die if you have a dagger in your back. Or naturally you will die if a reactor goes off beside you.
Very weird. Keith, we got about 3 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you. And I want to just continue on with that portion of the conversation. I mean, the idea that they would wipe our memories, you said it's for the safety of us and safety of them. Why would it be for the safety of them?
Well, you know how volatile the human race is, and how they will pick fights with each other based on skin color or geographical location. Well, if they let people, because people have arrived in Hollow Earth, and if mankind knew exactly where that access point was, there is no doubt some genius would decide, I can go down there and conquer it. Now, there was a war here centuries back, well, literally millennia back, that involved humans and the ancient races. Right. Now, granted, because of their temperament and because of the volatility of the human race, of the human species, it became a mess, and that is what ended up leading them to turn around and go, no, we're just going to go into hiding. Only they learned. Because at that time, they were using the same weaponry. Since they went underground, they have developed fighting techniques that take mankind's ability off the market. But mankind would undoubtedly try and invade Hollow Earth if it knew how to get to it.
Okay. I can understand Hollow Earth, but what about aliens, though? Coming from space? Why block the memory?
That's the issue about leaving mankind with their own life in basic tact. See, mankind has been taught over the centuries by itself that you fear that which you do not understand, that which you fear, strive to control, that which you cannot control, strive to destroy, and that which you cannot destroy, fear. Well, if you take a human who is taught that aliens don't exist, or aliens are evil, or demons are just inherently evil, okay, mankind will look at that and go, I've got to kill them. I mean, as it is, mankind has a tendency of shooting first and then asking if they're friendly. Okay. And considering the consortium is barred from invading any protected planet, okay, it's a question of making sure that mankind has that wonder of, what's going on? When they figure it out for themselves, then no problem. Because the hope is, by then, mankind will get along with itself.
Makes sense, my friend. R. Keith Andrews, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. It's always a good time, and we will see you next month.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, Keith,
not exactly planning on going far, so yeah.
And you can contact Keith at Inner Voice Enterprises on YouTube and on Google. You can find him there. Find out where his books are hiding. Get some for your library. Coming up next, we have the Swamp Dweller and Fedora John, Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio. right after this. Great show, Keith.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dave.
No problem, buddy. No problem. I got to run and blow my nose and stuff. Get some Vicks Vapor Rub on my throat so that way I can make it through the next hour. So if you want to chat with the audience for a little bit, I'll be okay with that if you want.
Okie doke.
Hang up. See you, buddy.
Take care. Yes. I mean, I'm still online, but I think they can still see me. You okay?
No, no, wait, yeah, I'm okay.
Sorry about that, all.
It's okay, it was kind of necessary.
Appreciate you bailing me out there.
Oh, not a problem. I just stayed put.
Hey, Cherry Pepsi Mike. What's going on? Gorgeous Jean Beckett. How are you? There. Now we can maybe do a job here.
Good luck with that. Sometimes it can be a royal pain in the neck.
I hear you. Your hair looks fantastic, though, bud.
Oh, thanks.
All right. Well, I will say goodnight to you, my friend. Thank you for covering me there for moments.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah. All right. You have a good night. We'll talk soon, okay?
Absolutely, Dave. You take care.
All right.
Thanks again.
All right, my beautiful friend. You take care.
You too.
Bye.
Ciao.
Our Keith Andrews, everybody. God, I love that guy. Here we go in like 9 seconds. Thank you to all the super chatters tonight, including Robin Lavira. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Gardaloo. Gardaloo is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is time once again where we head into the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller is going to give us another spooky tale or two regarding the forests and the deep, dark secrets they hold.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. Okay. So I've looked into many different cryptids in the New York area, and I have no clue what this thing was. In 2013, I lived in Jamestown, New York, with my grandfather, and there was this chained-off dirt road at the end of the street where people would dump old furniture and things that couldn't fit in a normal garbage bin. I would always go back there after school and follow the dirt road down this muddy stream area that went to my knees, and every day I would wander in further and further, until one day I ended up in a field area. I could see woods in the distance at the edge of the trees. There was something that looked like a huge cat, but it had antlers, and we were just staring at each other until a car horn went off, and it ran off into the woods. As soon as it ran off, I felt like I had to get out of there as fast as I could. I've looked into the different types of big cats in Jamestown, and it wasn't a bobcat, that's for sure. The closest thing I could compare it to would be a mountain lion, and I've read rumors about mountain lion sightings in New York, but it wouldn't explain the antlers. There was also a report of mountain lions with horns in Idaho, but those ones were small and tooth-like. All I know is that the thing was not a deer, and every time I think about it I feel sick. If anybody has ever heard of any sort of creature or has any sort of idea what it could have been, please let me know, because I'm out of ideas, and I'm pretty much out of places to research. I was driving my cousin to his place of work, and we got there early. It was still dark, and so we decided to wait for him next door, which is a gym and has plenty of light and cameras. As we were driving next door, there is a forest behind the building, and there is a small opening between the buildings that lead into the woods. As we were going across, we saw a deer and told my cousin, "Hey, look, a deer." We both saw it, but almost immediately started to feel very weird. The more we looked at it, the more we felt something was just not right. My cousin then said, "Why don't his eyes reflect your lights?" I had my lights right on him, and he was right. I didn't see any reflection. The uneasy feeling grew more and more until I realized it was fear. I thought to myself, why the heck am I afraid? Then I turned to my cousin and told him, "Hey, I don't think that's a deer, dude." We looked back at it, and then it started to move. Its feet moved like it was noodles. All four of them, like if you had long string, and you moved it back and forth really fast. That's what we saw. I started to say out loud, "Whoa, whoa." I pulled out my revolver from my holster, and as if this thing knew it, like it all of a sudden sprinted back into the forest. Me and my cousin kind of nervously laughed off what had just happened. But we still talk about it, and we have made sure not to leave the house anymore without our guns. We both have our licenses to carry and both have our licenses to kill big game. But to my question, is it illegal for me to go into the forest and hunt this thing down and kill them and post my findings on social media? I know this sounds like horse hockey of the highest order, but the thing is, if these things are out there, then I want people to know that they are there, and I want them to be aware that these things are in this world. Again, I cannot express how much of a serious question I am trying to make here. Thank you for your time. Let me start off with a little bit of background information. I live in a very forested area surrounded by a bunch of mountains. There's a stream across the road, but we live a ways away from it. Our house sits more at the top of a mountain, surrounded by towering trees. Our neighbors are somewhat close, but we can barely see each other's houses. We have 3 dogs, one has passed away since then, and 3 cats. Our neighbor also has dogs and cats, so there definitely isn't a shortage of pets anywhere. Anyways, that's what you need to know. It was in the middle of the week sometime in late August or early September. It was still hot since it was the end of summer, so my mom and I slept with our windows open. We never worried about the windows being open because, statistically speaking, we were a lot safer in the forest than in the city. Everything was the same as usual until 4 a.m. came around. We were woken by a ear-splitting guttural scream. We ran into the living room to check on each other, and we were all okay. The screaming continued, and it was at the same pacing. There would be a pause for about 2 to 3 seconds, and then a scream. The screaming lasted for all of about 5 minutes, and then stopped abruptly. My mom and I closed all of the windows and drew the blinds. None of our pets seemed to care what the screams were doing, echoing through the house, which I thought was very strange and out of character for them. A leaf could fall and they would lose their minds, so why the sudden silence? Because the screaming stopped, my mom decided to call the sheriff rather than the entire police force. The officer kept saying that it was probably nothing, but would drive by anyways. We stayed up waiting for the sheriff to drive by, and eventually he did. He didn't investigate much at all, though. He did exactly what he said he would do, which was a drive-by. My mom and I struggled to sleep that night, but we did. The next day we did some investigating and called all of our neighbors to make sure they were okay. But when we called, all of them said they didn't hear a thing that night. We were in disbelief that no one heard it because it was so loud. So we started thinking that there must have been a domestic violence cover-up, Or maybe someone had a really weird kink. Luckily, the final neighbor we called gave us a somewhat helpful answer. He told us that he didn't hear it himself, but he had heard sounds like that in the forest before. Now, it could be a mountain lion screaming, but when we looked it up, it didn't sound like that. It's not the same scream at all. But we also found some tracks. After more research and listening to Swamp Dweller videos, I think it may be on the spectrum of a skinwalker or a wendigo. What do you guys think? Am I just overthinking this?
Oh, those darn wendigos and skinwalkers, they're everywhere.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create new possibilities, from intelligent automation to security that hunts for threats in the wild. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com. Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype. Let's tweak. Let's test. Let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
We say thank you to our resident Swamp Dweller for hanging on out with another spooky story. Head over to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads to get more spooky stories. He's literally got thousands of them. You're going to definitely want to check him on out. All right. It is time once again where we head down to California and hook up with the fedora-wearing John Hudson and the unbiased UFO Report here on Spaced Out Radio. Always a good time to have you here, Fedora John. Thank you for joining us tonight. How you been, buddy?
Doing good, Dave. How about you, man?
I'm doing good. I wish my throat would get better this week. Last 2 weeks, it's just gone downhill, and I got to get it right back up, and I'm hoping this weekend to not talk as much, where I can just...
Are you kind to your throat?
I try to be.
Okay, that's good. You should be nice to it. You put your throat through a lot, you know?
I know I do. I mean, my daytime job that I have, I'm always talking.
I know.
And then
you're out, on
at
that
night, I'm
corner
always
flipping
talking.
that sign, selling cars, so...
Yes, come by your fridge magnets, your 10-minute oil change, fresh bananas, and used toadstools right here.
Can't you see Dave out there spinning that sign?
Yep. That's the way I do it. That's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to be one of those Dancing Davy dolls. You know what I'm saying? Dancing awesome. Davy. All right. Awesome. UFO Twitter is trending today on Twitter. I'm pretty shocked by this because this is like the third time in a month that hashtag UFO Twitter has been trending all over North America.
Yeah, and I got to say that I think that, I don't know. I mean, I think in a way you almost have to separate this from the fact that it's UFO Twitter. One, because UFO Twitter getting really popular, a little debatable whether that's a good thing or not. And it's not always apples to apples with everything else. But if you consider how long ago it got started, considering what we had before it got started, considering the very organic way it has grown and what it's turned into, and the fact that now we try to, we're actually starting to see progress from it. What is that? Say 5 years, something like that. That's actually pretty good. And the thing is that I think we average around 500 posts a day, last I checked, and this trend was at 1,500. So that's 3x. If you're 3x your average, it's not bad at all, right? I mean, that's a pretty good trend. Now, I think it's a little artificial this time because I think it unfortunately was related to another news item we're going to cover, but it doesn't change the fact that it's good to see, and the thing is that the more it trends, the more other people who haven't seen it before see it, comment on it, inquire, see what it is, and hopefully learn something.
John, for people who may not know, how does trending work on Twitter? so a hashtag like UFO Twitter could actually become very popular and trending for many people who may not even understand the subject.
Well, actually, what's Lerner and Stiegert is just like you, Dave. They use a magic 8-ball. That's how they actually figure it out. No, they have all these algorithms, and basically the idea is that as you're posting on Twitter, you can add hashtags to it. They constantly calculate how many times the hashtags are showing up, and basically they categorize topics as trending based on how many people are actually commenting on them, and as well as how many views each post gets that commented on it, how many likes. There's a whole algorithm that goes into it. My guess is that even in court, you would have trouble getting them to actually spell out exactly how they do it, but that's roughly how they do it.
UFO Twitter is usually a real cesspool for information and a lot of online barking and arguing, yet,
depending on your approach.
Okay. What do you mean depending?
Dave, for me, it's a really nice, pleasant place. So like, I used to see what you guys talk about, but I don't see that anymore. Right. So for me, it's like, it's not that way anymore. And so that's why I have to comment that I think it has something to do with your approach to it.
It can't tell what my approach is. I just type it on in, hashtag UFO Twitter.
Oh yeah, no. What I'm saying is what you post and how people react to it. That certainly they do pay attention to your tone and so forth.
No, I don't stir anything up on Twitter. Actually, I did. I did last night. I did. And I'll tell you why. Because there are very few times that I think somebody should give themselves a pat on the back. Okay? And Daniel Otis and I broke a couple of big stories the other night about the Canadian government and UFOs.
Yep.
And there was a number of tweets on UFO Twitter about how Liberation Times broke the story. And yet, Liberation Times used Daniel Otis's video that he had posted on his YouTube channel of Member of Parliament Larry Maguire, and we followed it up with what we broke here on Spaced Out Radio about Hal Puthoff and members of the SCU meeting with government officials. So and this is nothing against the Liberation Times. I really like the work they're doing. I really do. But there was a couple of tweets out there that said, congratulations to Liberation Times breaking this story. So I went on there and I said, sorry, in my best Canadian way, they did not break the story at DS Otis, which is Daniel Otis's Twitter handle, and at Spaced Out Radio broke this story. Because, you know what, when you work hard for something like that, it is very, very tough. Daniel Otis did a great job at leading the way. We followed it up with a secondary breaking story. And so, you know what? I'm going to brag about that.
Yeah. No. But that, to me, that's different than egging someone on, And to me, like, if I had made your comment, the only thing I would have done differently is I would have added something to the end of it that says, but we do appreciate the fact that the Liberation Times has helped spread the message.
I did say that.
And good.
I did say, you know what? But we had, it's great that the Liberation Times covered this. Yes.
Yeah, totally perfect. That's exactly that's the awesome human way to handle it. So that's good stuff.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't consider that poking the bear.
No. But you know what? When you work hard for something, and people try to give other people credit for it, that sucks.
Oh no! And look, I mean, flat out, like if you care about something, you defend it, right? I mean,
it's
like,
theft.
If the I mean, exactly. I mean, like it's totally. I mean, you gotta stand up. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And that's the thing is that realistically, it'd be nice if essentially, UFO Twitter becomes this kind of, or continues to be this kind of inner exchange point of different groups that come from different points of view. and have different ways of going about it. And like I said, I mean, I think that certainly it you have to look at it for what it is, and that is that it's a really good confirmation engine. So if you're unsure of what you believe and you want other people to reaffirm you without data, it's a great tool for that. So tread wary. But it also is a really good tool for disseminating information, and it's also a great tool for having conversation. I got into a conversation the other day about tactics during convoys that might be employed during guerrilla situations, like what we might be seeing in certain countries. And whoa, I could not believe the expertise of two of the individuals that were involved. Like, they were dropping some incredible knowledge on like different things you could do. It was really cool. And this is all going on live on Twitter. It's like pretty awesome.
No, Twitter is its own world. That is for sure. I'm not even getting into Reddit yet because I still haven't figured out what Reddit is all about. And Reddit, I'm going to be honest with you, kind of scares me. It really does. I avoid it like the plague, man. Avoid it like the plague.
Was it quote from Dune? That God created Reddit for the I can't remember the quote now, but Reddit is not for the weary or the weak. That is for sure. It is definitely a volatile, interesting, but it can be a tremendously rewarding, very friendly, very supportive environment as well.
I can honestly say that I have checked us out, Spaced Out Radio on Reddit. We've had a lot of positive comments on there. A lot of positive comments.
Yep. Yeah.
But
definitely.
I try and stay away from Reddit. It just scares me.
Oh, no. And the thing is, you have to be really careful because Reddit is one of the king rabbit holes. Like, you can go really deep and disappear for a long time. So
wasn't Reddit a number of years ago where the Tic Tac video was first leaked? I think it was. It's either Reddit or YouTube, one of the two. And I'm going back like 7 years ago, a decade ago, like long before the To the Stars Academy brought.
You know what? Actually, a friend of mine is one of the founders of Reddit, so I can actually look into him and ask him. Yeah.
Wow. Well, tell him I'm scared to death of his format. Don't even know how it works, but that's okay. That's okay. Either way, the fact is that on UFO Twitter, hashtag UFO Twitter, if you want to check it on out, there is a lot of good information out there, but there is a lot of seediness out there that you have to kind of wade between the,
It's the Wild West.
It really is.
And the thing is that what you'll find on Reddit, which is what you'll find on any proper forum, is that the quality and the attentiveness and the methodicalness and the fairness of the moderators are completely determined the entire tone, which is exactly what we find here on Spaced Out Radio and why we have such a nice environment here.
Very true. Very true. John, let's move on tonight as we continue on with the Unbiased UFO Report. We'll probably have to carry this one over, but a few more details about Gary Nolan going on here.
Yeah.
Fill us in.
Yeah, so one of the things I'll provide in the link is links to, because he gave 2 talks, right? So that's what this is based on. Is Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford, him basically doing 2 different Twitter talks. It was meant to be one. His first one got cut off halfway through, and so he did a second one, and so that's why there's 2 different talks that are set up.
Okay.
But sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. But the thing is that so much information came out of these, and so I'm only kind of gleaning on a little of it. But the 2 things that I wanted to point out that I thought were really interesting is that one is that there's a lot of discussion over when you see these patients that have these changes in their brain, are there other characteristics that tend to be correlated, at least with them in a group setting? Things like, like I mentioned the other day about people perhaps being having tendencies toward Asperger's might have a higher tendency or might likelihood to be in this group. One of the things they're also looking at is other sorts of mental illnesses that have cross-pollination with features that experiencers experience. And what that can tell us, considering the fact that it's often damage in the brain that really informs us as to how the brain works. And so one of the things that Dr. Nolan has done, which you are not wrong. I've really grown a crush on this dude. He's using his own money to fund a postdoc at Harvard. So he's got a postdoc at Harvard that he's personally funding. And that postdoc, what he's looking at is, we'll cover it when we get back.
Well, that's a good stop right there. Thank you so much. The fedora-wearing John Hudson continues with us here on Spaced Out Radio right after this. We love it when John's here. Hair's looking good. Chin hair's looking great. Spaced Out Radio's final half hour is next. All right, we're clear. Yes, we just had that story, Lavira, where the Canadian bees up in my area got a little horny and all died last year due to heat. Heat wave makes Canadian bees horny and orgasm to death.
Aww.
I know.
I mean, wait. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's hard. Anyway, I'm going to leave that one alone.
It is heartbreaking.
Kinda.
Yeah.
Okay, I just for anyone who's curious, I just posted the link in the chat that will take you to a Twitter post that has a link to the two different chats. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the first chat, he doesn't actually show up until about 36 minutes into it. So the first 36 minutes are them like exchanging questions and discussing some ideas and so forth. I still found that interesting, but if you're just looking to hear Gary, then it's 36 minutes into the first one and all of the second one.
Very cool.
Did I ever tell you about the bees that DARPA trained to smell explosives?
Yes.
Absolutely love that story. Acoustic Kitty came up in conversation earlier today, so I suddenly had all these like crazy experiments and projects in my head as a result.
Mm-hmm. Johnny boy. Hey, there's the reverse headstocked Brazelhoff right there. You know who uses reverse headstocks? Flat earthers.
Are reverse headstock, is that kind of like why is that a big deal? Is that like getting goofy?
I just think
is that like riding a board goofy?
No, they just look weird.
Okay, all right.
It all started with Jimi Hendrix back in the day when he played a left-handed guitar right-handed.
Realistically, as long as everything was relatively like related to each other, it wouldn't really matter. You would just learn it in a kind of a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, if anyone has time to go through that whole discussion, it's cool because basically all it is people asking questions. And a lot of the people that came in and actually got chances to ask questions were actually surprisingly educated folks that asked surprisingly good questions. I was actually really pleased. One thing I wasn't going to cover in the main segment, but I'll just touch on here, is that someone did bring up the question of hybrids, and Gary Nolan actually gave his little speech on his opinion about hybrids, which he says that he almost gave verbatim to Linda Moulton Howe when he was on her show a number of years ago, which I didn't know that he was on her show a number of years ago. So I need to go back and find that episode and listen to it. Science Bob. Duke. Hey, Duke, I know you never log into Twitter, but I need you to log into Twitter just once to look at a tweet I sent you like a couple days ago that shows the two Zoids that I have.
Manuel. Hey, what the hell is Science Bob doing here tonight? What the hell are you doing awake? It's like 2:30 in the morning, Science Bob. I love Science Bob.
He was up watching YouTube videos like the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
Probably bumbled into you by recommendation.
Manuel, how are you? I can't believe Science Bob is here. Love Science Bob.
Oh, yeah. Science Bob is absolutely fantastic.
He is. He truly is. Yes. Third Phase of Moon coming out with their new documentary very soon on April 5th. We got to get you guys on for that. Apparently I'm in it. Who knew?
Oh, my.
Who knew? Apparently Third Phasers did. We got like 7 seconds here, my friend. Hi, Science Bob. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the Unbiased UFO Report. The fedora-wearing John Hudson is here explaining his man crush and science crush on Stanford University's Gary Nolan.
Yes. Well, he did, hey, smart, sexy, right? So, but this is super cool, right? This is like, because this is Gary actually using his own money to do something that essentially benefits all of us, right? And so just to kind of recap, what we're talking about is that, in addition to the research that Gary Nolan's been doing with the contact group, shall we say, of which, like I said before.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create new possibilities, from intelligent automation to security that hunts for threats in the wild. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com. Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype. Let's tweak. Let's test. Let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
Many of them were removed as being identified as being Havana syndrome, right? So he ended up with a much smaller group. And they were looking at things like, whether things like intelligence and intuitiveness have any correlation with these sort of brain changes and so forth. And the next thing he's looking at with this Harvard postdoc that he's paying for is they got a hold of a large number of basically brain studies, deep brain scans and that includes people that were very specifically diagnosed with things like schizophrenia, things like autism, things like this, so they can start looking and start finding out, are there any commonalities? Because while you have to be very, very careful with what you say, because a lot of these people have very serious medical conditions, need help, the truth of the matter is that if you have a medical condition that where people say hear voices, and then you have a healthy group that hears voices for some other reason, you have to at least reevaluate those two groups, because there's a chance that some of the people that are in this group should have been in this group, and vice versa, right? I mean, you need to do a full scope analysis, because now you have a much larger set of data points to look at.
Okay. Gary we're trying to get him on this show right now. Still, we're working on it with email contact with him. Gary is someone who is following in the footsteps of Jacques Vallée, and someone who is taking everything, not only from E.T. Craft, but E.T. Contact very seriously at Stanford University. And as you mentioned a little bit earlier, he's put his own money into this project. He believes in the science of it so much. Do you think there will ever come a day where Gary actually releases these findings in a peer review or to the public?
Oh, yes, without a doubt. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever. Obviously, there are things that have to be held back for medical, reasons and so forth. But Gary is one of those beautiful people that essentially doesn't really believe it's real if it hasn't been peer reviewed, in a way, right? That's probably too exaggerated, but I mean that's the idea, right? And so I have every confidence that he will publish all of this. I don't think he sees much point in doing this kind of work unless you're going to share it. But the one thing I want to point out real quick that you touched on a second ago is that, if you look at someone like Gary Nolan and ask yourself, why is he doing this, right? Okay, you can point to his character, you can point to his intelligence, blah, blah, blah. It's all true and nice and good and all. But what a lot of it comes down to is Gary has founded several very successful companies and has done very well for himself. He deserves all the credit for that. I don't mean to take that away. But what I'm saying is that he has earned himself a place where he doesn't have to worry so much about what harm may come to him because of speaking out about this issue. And if you notice, when we've gotten wonderful people like Bob McGuire into our little groups, right, it's because they too have either retired or they've reached a point where they've sold a company and they've reached some financial stability level where they can talk about this without direct fear of harm. And the fact that we're still there, that's unfortunate.
Well, where does Gary want to take this all? I mean, he is a new member and like an all-star member of the Galileo Project right now. And he is someone who is, moving his own studies forward. He's almost been a little bit of a lone wolf in this. Can he play well with others as it moves forward?
Okay. Well, to address that last question, yes. Insofar as he will ruffle feathers. Gary does not filter for certain people, and even in this talk, he made some very direct comments about a certain Jason individual that was. I'm embarrassed to say how much I laughed at them. But the thing was, is that before his contact with Vallée, I would have answered this differently. I would have said, no, Gary's in this because it's a curiosity that he wants to solve, and he loves tough problems. And as long as there are tough, curious problems that he can sink his teeth into, he's on our side. As soon as he gets bored, he's gone. That would have been my analysis before, right? My analysis now is very different in that I think because of his work with Vallée, he is going to start taking on an understanding of a bigger, and probably already has, probably why he's working with Vallée. But my point is that now I think, I guess what I'm saying is, I think that his relationship with Vallée now has bound him closer and tighter to the topic.
Finally tonight, you want to get into a little bit of UFOs over Ukraine. There's a lot of people out there, man, who are calling for UFOs to come on in and help end this horrific war that is happening between Russia and Ukraine. What's going on there with the UFOs?
This is a hard one. This is a hard one. When I first heard about this, I got to be honest with you, I wanted to run as fast as I could in the opposite direction. I really did. I was like, whoa, I'm not going to touch that story with a 10-foot pole.
Yet here you are.
Yeah, here I am. And that's because when you dig into it, there's actually a really cool little basic story that comes from the beginning of it that's very John Keel-like in a way, right? It's this weird story about the fact that I guess 2 nights ago or 3 nights ago, there was some weird event where there was either some dramatic weather in the sky or possibly a ship or some sort of a vehicle of some sort that basically came down and wiped out an entire line of tanks.
These were and we should also say, these were the tanks that were allegedly firing in on the nuclear power plant. Now, we have, if this is true, we're not saying...
This is an interesting one. This is a good one.
We're not saying this is true, okay?
No.
We're not saying this is true. We're not standing behind this. We're just reporting this alleged incident, okay?
Yep.
If this is true, we have heard for years that from many contactees for decades who have said that if the world gets into anything close to a nuclear war or meltdown, that the extraterrestrials would step in. And then all of a sudden, in Russia, and look, we know there is a ton of propaganda coming out from both sides of the ledger here.
Oh, yes.
Okay, it doesn't matter whether you're pro-Ukraine or pro-Russia. There is a plethora of propaganda coming out right now.
Yep.
And if this is true, this is incredible.
Yes, yeah, but I want to make a point, and that is that this is a really good story that's very relative to what we've all been talking about, because if you listen to one of the early news reports of this, it's not reported as a UFO.
No.
It's reported as an act of God, and it's actually attached to someone's story about a prayer that was set up where groups of people were praying for a miracle and were trying to claim that these events were somehow tied together. So it just shows that there can be vastly different interpretations to this. But to your earlier point, we have numerous stories going all the way back to the Trojan War of weird things showing up in the midst of battle, shooting a beam, doing something, making something happen, whatever it is, and then they go away. And the thing is that war is like, I don't think there's any way to impart upon someone how confusing war is if they haven't been in it. I think it's one of the few things that humans can experience that there's absolutely no way to know unless you've been there. And the confusion level is so high that I think it's very hard to say that a lot of these events aren't just horrible misidentifications because of lack of sleep and drugs and wounds and but some of these events have to be true. Is this one true? I don't know, but I hope so. It's a fun one.
Yeah, you know what? Let's see where it goes, because, look, with the propaganda that's going on both sides, and, look, I have made a very, very pointed, being of Ukrainian heritage, that I am very much supporting Ukraine on this. Not like they need my support or anything like that. What am I going to do from a radio studio in Canada? But I will say this. There is a ton of propaganda going on both sides that you have to be very careful to read through. And I also want to, you know what? I've had a number of people recently comment on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. How dare you support Ukraine? You don't know the facts. There was one person actually, and I'm going to leave their name out, but who actually commented on our YouTube channel. What? Dave is now saying he's Ukrainian? Well, yes, I am. You know, by heritage. My father's Ukrainian. My grandparents are Ukrainian, first-generation Canadians. You know, my great-grandfather, God bless his soul, is Ukrainian who ran over here and stowed away at 14 years old with his best friend. They ran away because the Bolsheviks were coming on in and killing all young men during the revolution in Ukraine.
There's a lot of Ukrainians in Canada and the U.S.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Right? So,
They're
yes.
lovely folk.
Maybe I do take this a little bit personally. I have family over there that I've never met and probably never will. Okay? And it's unfortunate, but that's the way life is sometimes. But go ahead.
Well, I just want to say one good thing, and to be really quick, is that one way that people have found another way to help, and you guys have to look into it yourself, is through Airbnb. There is a method. I've already had friends doing it where they're signing up for Airbnbs in Kiev. They're basically they're renting spaces and they're paying them as if they're staying there. And it's a very clever way of basically getting money and aid to people in there very quickly without any concerns. Just something to pass around.
Well, and that's a great idea too. But for me, as a journalist, I have to call it down the middle. That is my job. Okay?
Absolutely.
There is propaganda happening on both sides. I mean, we've seen a number of videos on the Ukraine side that have actually come from video games, and we've seen a lot of stark bull crap, pardon me, for what, the Russians saying, oh, well, this isn't an invasion. Really? You don't attack from about 16 different fronts if it's not an invasion. So you got to be able to bite your teeth. Stop with the crap on Twitter. While you can't trust the media, you're smart enough people out there to do your own research and be able to tell what is real and what is not. Do your research. Okay? If you're looking where I'm getting my research from, I am not getting my research from mainstream media. Not even looking at it. I'm looking at the raw videos.
Do your research. Sit on it. Wait. Think. Don't pass judgment. Let other people soak on it too. There's no rush, No
rush. No rush. Do your homework. Right? And that's all we got to say. John, always a pleasure, man. We got to get to Shirky Poo's news, and we're going to get to that right now. All right, let's get right to the interesting news of the day provided by Shirky Poo. While skeptics debate the existence of ghosts, others would swear blind that they have experienced the paranormal, turning them into lifelong believers. This one person shared their story on Reddit about he was spending the night at home with his dog when he got the fright of a lifetime. He is convinced his dog warned him about a ghost standing in his doorway with him, believing what he heard muttering to himself or another entity. So, this is what he wrote on Reddit. So last night I'm sitting in my room on my computer. My dog Ox, who is a Rottweiler and isn't afraid of anything, runs into my room whining. Really didn't get what was going on. I tried to comfort him, but he only tried to push himself further under my bed. I live alone, and I was kind of freaked out by this. After searching this house, the man went into the bedroom feeling uneasy despite not finding anything out of the ordinary. It was hard to fall asleep, he said. I woke up to the sound of Ox growling. I shut up and asked, "What's wrong, boy?" He kept his eyes on my door. All of the hairs on his back were up. I could feel my hands beginning to shake. Out of nowhere, a voice says, and let me tell you, this voice was demonic. It gave me chills. "The dog can see us. He can't yet. He will, though." Now, I don't know if they're talking to me or to someone else, but it terrified me, the writer explained. Then a door slammed. I'm not sure which one. It was either the bathroom door or the closet. Admitting he was scared to spend another night in his house, the man shared his encounter in hopes others would be able to put his mind at rest. No, guy, you got some serious stuff happening there. You know, you got to go buy $18,000 worth of equipment now. You got to call up a bunch of ghost teams who are going to, provoke that spirit to make it even more angry. Then you got to call in a real team to cleanse it, but that's probably going to come from a fake psychic who's going to charge you about $50,000 to $75,000 because the demons are just needing more and more money before they leave because they like to be bribed. Oh yeah, this guy's got it. He's in trouble. I know. An unusual submarine-shaped vehicle that captured the attention of divers in Florida was identified as an enclosed recumbent bicycle. Yeah, Michael Rood captured a video where he spotted this bright yellow vehicle, which he compared to a spaceship on US 41 in Punta Gorda. Rood said the vehicle was very low to the ground. If he was there and somebody else was there, they'd have to be lying back. Michael Holm, owner of Fort Myers Cyclery, said the vehicle appears to be a recumbent cycle, a bike in which the rider leans backwards with an expensive cover. They're about $20,000. Rood said his bike had a blinking red light, but it became difficult to see once it was next to his new car. This was like begging to get hit and run over. Oh my God, guy sounded like a Karen now. Florida Highway Patrol Trooper Ken Watson said bicycles are allowed on the highway, but he would have stopped the rider to discuss the visibility issue. You're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation, Trooper Watson said. With the bike being so small and so low to the ground, it can be difficult to see. Let's move on. No sense of humor in North Carolina, where a woman is fighting the state's Department of Motor Vehicles to keep her unusual personalized license plate, which reads, Fart. Carly Cindy of Asheville said she applied for the license plate in October and was pleasantly surprised when the request was approved as she was issued Fart for the license plate to back up on her pickup truck. Cindy said she received a letter in the mail recently from the DMV on February 25th telling her that complaints had been lodged about her plate. So a bunch of Karens got around, felt they needed to be offended, and now the DMV is taking their part because apparently you are not allowed to fart, say fart, write fart in North Carolina. I'll tell you, it's a farty situation right there. The DMV told Cindy she might be allowed to keep the plate if she replied to the letter with an explanation of what the plate meant to her and why she believed she would be allowed to keep using it. Cindy consulted with some friends and founded a group titled Friends of Asheville Recreational Trails, or FART. She said the group now has a mailing list, a website, and merchandise. Cindy said the group recently held its first meeting. 15 people showed up. So she sent a letter to the DMV explaining that she should be allowed to keep the plate. As a reference to her new group, she is now waiting response. I'll tell you, people don't have enough time on their hands as it is, but you got time to complain about someone's license plate. Have a laugh for once, people. Seriously, have a laugh. Paris Fashion Week invites all the social media users and, those who are who's who to come watch these, anorexic models walking down an aisle there in weird clothes that we'll never wear. But the invites are a little weird this year. The luxury fashion brand ditched the more traditional paper invites or an eco-friendly digital version. Instead, they collected a bunch of smashed up iPhones and then engraved the back of the iPhone with the event's invitation. Yeah, it looks real weird, but apparently they have. The label said the iPhone was a genuine artifact from the year 2022, meaning it and its accompanying damage very, very real. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, John for the UFO report, Swamp Dweller for the great stories, and R. Keith Andrews for the ET Connection, who we'll talk to next month. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, Spreaker, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype, let's tweak, let's test, let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com. Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype, let's tweak, let's test, let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.